Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, Neil and Arwin in G+, along with Adam Meakin and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, morning.
Hey, good morning.
Afternoon.
Hello. Good to have you.
Hello, Neil. What was that?
It's all very exciting. Hello, good to have you. Do you have a good show, Arwin?
Yeah, it was okay.
I asked because I
A lot
didn't
of
get to see it.
Personal
Sorry.
talk about people, but
Personal talk? Oh dear, that's not what I'm interested in. Don't tell me, please.
no, I'm not gonna drop details. But apparently, a whole bunch of people just asked, like, "What about this person? What about that person?" And so, yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
You didn't get brought up though this time.
Okay.
Can I
Morning,
just do a
guys.
quick mic check?
Morning, chocolate. Go on,
Let
sleep
me
away.
just do a quick mic check. Let me know if you can hear Brenda talking in the background. Did you hear her talk then?
No, but thank you for doing this
Okay,
right at the
no
beginning of the
worries.
live show.
Tell me
That's
you
just
got
what
it
I
awesome.
really
No, we're not
wanted
gonna do it.
after
Have you had
specifically
a
saying
cup of tea or something?
please
I
don't.
wanted to talk about a logical reasoning. She made some silly representations about the Black Swan argument on Brandon's last night, and essentially I wanted to really go through with them because if she's going around making the heinous nonsense of illogical statements whilst being logical, then you have to ask her to correct her position. So let's get through housekeeping and let's talk about Brenda for a bit. I'll tell you what she said.
You already are. Go ahead.
Okay, so she said that the Black Swan was, she gave two logical statements against the Black Swan. She said the first one is that it's an argument of equivalence in the sense that you're equivocating between the horizon being optical and actual. And I'm like, no, they're contrasting between optical and actual, not equivocating between the two. So she's saying that we're conflating and equivocating between the optical nature of the actual horizon we observe compared to the geometric horizon that they claim. She says that that's an equivalence. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's a contrasting argument. It's the opposite of an equivalence.
Okay, can I just
Does
interrupt you for a
anyone
second?
think-
Sorry to
anyone
interrupt.
think that that's an equivalence?
So, no. What is actually the case is they do that in defense. So we point out that the geometric limitations of a sphere radius 3959 would put the horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Their defense is to say the horizon is refracted. So they use a false analogy, if you will, to say that something that is geometrically requiring a straight line to it now has a bent line. That's what they do in defense of the Black Swan argument. She's then projecting that out onto us. Okay, well, no, that's what they do in defense. They come up with a second horizon that isn't geometric anymore to defend the fact that they can't measure it, it's beyond its limitations. So that's what they do. Moving on. Next.
Yeah, the second point she made was that it was a straw man fallacy. She said that talking about the horizon being optical is a straw man fallacy because she says that basically that's not their model. And I'm like, she either doesn't know what a straw man fallacy is, or
What?
she just basically doesn't understand the argument.
Was that it?
Yeah, she said it because it's a prediction of the globe model. rather than she said that because they merely predict it rather than like prove it, then we're making a straw man argument because they never proved that it's a non-geometric horizon. They always just accept that it's a refracted horizon. And I was like,
wait.
straw man argument, then, is
Was
it?
this before or after she was fighting for her model that her model does not make accurate predictions? Because that's when I turned it on, and I found it quite hilarious. Because we've been told for years, haven't we, that their model makes predictions?
And that
She
they're
was
accurate.
literally fighting that it doesn't.
I see.
Yeah, she also said that 2 + 2 equals 4, and if you get two liquids of the same temperature at 2 degrees, she said that if you add one liquid of 2 degrees to another liquid of 2 degrees, that you get 4 degrees out of it. And they got her to clarify it, and she said it because 2 + 2 = 4, always in mathematics, always. So when they applied it to 2 beakers of 2 degrees temperature, she then had to say that it resulted in 4, and it obviously doesn't. It's still 2. And then she said, well, it's because mixing is not calculating. But essentially, the point that we're saying is that mathematics doesn't mean it's the reality. She then started arguing that just because you're mixing two liquids together, just because 2 + 2 does equal 4, doesn't mean you'll get it in real world. And I was like, that's our argument, darling. I mean, it was just brilliant. The hypocrisy and the double standards was outstanding.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I heard that had me on the floor. Like, really? So now you're straight telling us how mathematics, abstract mathematics, are not always accurate in reality. Again, like Anthony said, that's our point. Thank you.
Indeed,
Catching
it
up.
sounds to me like they're starting to use our arguments against them as defences. Well, we're not saying it makes accurate predictions on our begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, in spite of the fact that we've used it for years to say it makes accurate predictions when we compare our begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator to pictures we take. That's why we compared them. Until it was pointed out that it didn't have any perspective, and we've debunked your R value that it's based on at 3959 miles. Now it doesn't make accurate predictions, and they're fighting to tell us how inaccurate their model is. Yeah, we know, we don't adhere to your model.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was saying.
Yep. It was great.
Shout out to Unitox Femu, who says, I'm sorry if reality doesn't match with your model. Yeah, exactly. Sorry about that. Moving on. We don't care. It's your problem. Not ours.
Yeah, but I don't think that she understood that she was actually arguing and making our point for us, but in
She doesn't
defense
need
of
to.
something.
They very rarely do. As they tell us it's all optical, and Chocolate and about 5 other people say, yeah, welcome to Flat Earth.
Yep.
And there was the claim it was scientific because it was based on inductive reasoning as well.
Oh God.
Yeah, she said, what did she say? Let me
I did
get
ask
right.
for
She said
clarity
that
on those
science.
points.
She did say science was not she said science was inductive, maths was deductive.
Okay, can we stop
And I
now?
was
Can we
like-
stop talking about the views of a village idiot? Let's just move on with housekeeping. I think we've covered this enough.
Well,
go
I
on then,
think
Arwin.
there is value in it though, because if these people are going around saying that kind of thing and making people think the opposite of what's actually true, they do need to be pulled back on this, because isn't science meant to call each other out? Well, we need to call this kind of nonsense out, don't we? Or do we just turn a blind eye to it?
Science. No, the opinions and ramblings of an idiot aren't necessarily something you need to concern yourself with, Anthony. And in terms of the people that are taking on board what they say and just taking it as read, they're idiots also. You know, check what people say, don't just take it as read. But if you need to educate
the point
them
I was
in that,
making is that they claim that science calls each other out all the time, and no one's calling her out on this. Rumpus was.
Sorry,
I think Rumpus
Anthony.
was actually in the call.
Anthony. Yeah, you're well into their world at the moment, I can tell. Right. So science, it's got lips and tells you that you need to call someone out. Does it? Is that what science does?
No, that's what they claim. They claim.
I know.
Science calls
Yeah.
each other out all the time.
I'll
So
restate.
why are you taking it serious?
Yeah, I'll restate my position. In terms of the ramblings of idiots, who cares? Meanwhile, science itself, has that got lips to tell you to call other scientists, in quotes, out? Or is it merely a method?
Just a method.
Just a method.
It's just a method.
Right, so when idiots say science says we should call each other out when we get things wrong, that's just the ramblings of idiots, most likely globe believers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got hung up that Brenda said that math is a literal language. And then I asked in chat, of course, nobody responded to it, but I did ask. So could anybody please speak math to me? So,
It
like,
is a
can you
language.
speak in math to me, right? And that doesn't mean 1 + 1 is 2, because that's not math as a language. That's actually English. Using the English language to describe math, right? So now speak math for me,
It's
please.
still the same thing, Aaron. If that's what she said, then she's right. It is a language. Like English is a language, and to describe the numbers in maths with English or any other language doesn't change that the maths itself is just another language. It is. It's abstract like any other language also.
But it's not a language you can speak. Not
Adam,
without the assistance of
hold
another
on.
language.
I can hear Adam in the background taking his belt off.
Adam was the one in there doing the spanking. It was great. Well done, Adam.
That was funny. Right, romper sound as well.
Turned
that
it
was
off by the
lovely.
time Rumpus showed up.
Oh, that was great, man. But he was gonna explain it. It only took like 30 minutes of him doodling, making everybody forget what the entire point was in the first place. So he succeeded.
Very triggered, doesn't he? Especially if you call him a liar, Nathan. That was what I found. If I said I can't trust the word you're saying, you're a proven liar.
Oh, right. Rumpus is a proven liar. He claimed that back in the Isle of Man discussion, he refracted the horizon, when in fact he was refracting targets with respect to the horizon and drawing a tangent to it, the tangent that he now lies about continually, because he is a proven liar.
Nathan, can I say something really quick?
You can, after I shout out Unitox Femi for the super chat. When I grow up, I want to learn to presume better, to improve pseudoscience, and with improving pseudoscience, I can help modern science, says Unitox Femi from the chat. Okie dokie. I sense a tone of sarcasm there, Unitox Femi, but thank you very much for the super chat. Go ahead, whoever it was from Discord.
Yeah, I wanted to say something regarding the maths thing, because I had the red mic and I couldn't unmute. So the thing that I wanted to say is that that thing that you were talking about doesn't mean that maths don't describe reality. It just means that in order to get, in this case, the resultant temperature of mixing a 2-degree liquid and another 2-degree liquid, you don't need to sum the temperatures. You need to make the medium, or I don't know how is it called in English, but for example, the number in between of two numbers. I don't know if I expressed myself correct.
Yeah,
Is your
no,
point?
hold on,
that
sorry, 1
math-
second, Chocolate. No offense, but that was around about the time that I told Anthony that this wasn't interesting anymore. You want to focus on that particular bit, do you?
No. It was just that I wanted to say that, but I couldn't unmute. So
No, I got
wanted
that.
to
I
say
got that.
just
I
now.
got that bit. Yes. Okay.
Can I
Thank
ask him
you.
a question?
Sure.
Yeah, dude. What your point is to what? To tell us that math is reality? Is that your point?
My point is that maths can describe reality. In some cases, it can't, of course, but in other cases, it can, and is totally valid to do mathematical operations in order to get a value that you can describe in reality.
So maths can describe reality. Would you agree?
Right. Okay.
Would you agree that it doesn't cause reality?
I mean, I don't think that maths. I mean, if I correct me if I understood you wrong, but I mean, maths. I mean, if I have 2 pencils, the math itself doesn't create that 2 pencils. You know, it's a way to describe a thing that we see in reality.
So
All
just
right.
answer the question.
If can I ask him if you have if I have 2 pencils, can you take 5 pencils away from me?
Yeah, of course. In that case, it wouldn't be a
You can do
tangible
that
thing.
I'm talking about reality, my friend. If I'm holding 2 pencils, can you take 5 away from me?
Yeah, that was not my point, because I said that in some cases it can't describe reality, but in that case you can represent it by, for example, like I owe you 3 pencils. and I need 3 pencils in order to reach 0 pencils. I mean, it's a little bit, it's not
That's
really tangible,
accounting.
but that's the way to, yeah, it's not a accurate reality, but yeah, that's it.
So it's not. So it's not.
It's
It
not
doesn't always
reality.
describe reality, right?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So that's our point.
I think
Right?
he
I
missed
thought,
also Anthony's point. Anthony, ask your question again, because I don't think you got it.
yeah,
Math
I
might be
I
able to
thought that
describe reality, but can maths cause reality?
I don't understand your question.
That's the problem. Because
Cause-
all Earthers
cause
think
reality,
that
how?
maths is reality.
Only secondary. Math is only secondary.
So,
I mean,
okay, sorry to interrupt for 1 second. While it can be described to use or used to describe reality, and sometimes it could get it wrong. So, in this particular instance, at the end of the equation on paper, you've got 5 pencils, and you're saying, well, chocolate's got -3 pencils, but in physical reality, you can't have that work. He can't have -3 pencils, and you can't end up with however many more than he's got. If he's got 2 pencils, he can only hand you 2 of them. You can't end up with 5 and him owing you 3. You just can't do that in physical reality. You can do it on the books, in the maths only. However, my point, can you also describe things that don't exist at all in this abstract language?
yeah, that's true. I thought that your point was that maths don't describe reality,
No,
but
you can.
In any case,
Sure, you can describe it with maths. Nobody's saying that the abstract language of anything, it can describe things that are true, but in the same way as I can describe and make up something in the language of English, I can also do the same in maths. Would you agree? I can just make something up and calculate it.
I mean, can you repeat that point?
I can invent something in mathematics and then calculate with it or for it, even though it doesn't necessarily exist.
I mean, yeah, you can calculate things that can't be described in physical reality, but that doesn't mean that it's a lie. For example, negative numbers can't be represented in physical reality, but it's a way to. I mean, how can I explain it? It's
Describe.
I mean, how can for example? I mean,
But what's the
it's a way
benefit?
to
What's
represent.
the benefit? Why would you want to describe the pencils that I don't have because I can't physically have them? Why would you want to describe something that is not reality when the reality is he has no pencils?
Because that non-reality can reach a point in which it will be reality. For example, going back to the pencils, I have 2 pencils. Someone removes 5 from me. It takes from me 5 pencils, but I will get like another 7 pencils later. So that negative number can be converted into positive number, and that the negative numbers
So
act
you would
as
have to
a
get those pencils for him
transition.
to take the pencils away from you, right? While
Okay.
you have 2, nobody can take 5 away from you.
Okay,
Right?
I've just got a problem with that. So I've got these books in front of me from, I think they're from the 1800s. They're very old books. And according to these books, there was a fairly heavy exchange in dodos. Yeah? And on the books, there was a point where one guy had 2 dodos, and the other guy said, well, I need 5. And the guy said, no problem. Take these 2 dodos. On the books, -3. Yeah? So I owe you 5 dodos. Well, number one, the guy only handed him 2 dodos, right? And the next guy is expecting to get 3 more in the future because there's a minus figure in the books, right? So he's paid for 5, let's just say, but he's only been given 2. But the books say everything's square, he's just owed 3. But then the dodos cease to exist. So the books don't balance, do they? It didn't ever manifest in reality till he got the extra 3 dodos. So in reality, the books didn't manifest in the future. They didn't come to fruition that he got the extra 3 dodos because they don't exist anymore in physical reality. Like the 3 pencils he didn't have didn't exist in physical reality. Like you can manifest things into physical reality on paper, and they don't necessarily manifest in reality, even though they're on paper, and you can still calculate them, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Right. So things like R values, radius values, you can calculate these things into existence, but they're not in physical existence or reality in any way. You can't actually
not?
measure an R value in reality.
Why not?
Because we
Why
don't have
the
a
R value
geometric...
doesn't-
Maybe ask me why not and then start talking. Because it triggers you, because you're a globe believer, and me telling you precisely why you can't get R means you need to talk through the very first breath of that explanation now, doesn't it? Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because to acquire it, you'd need to measure some physical geometry, and the way it's measured is with a tangent that's straight. Now that would be to a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, the tangent point, straight line to it. That's how you get it. Now, we've debunked that with the black swan. The limitations of a sphere radius 3959, the assumption that's made up in your maths that doesn't exist in physical reality, can't be acquired. You can't measure it. You haven't got a physical horizon to measure. You even tell us how refracted it is. So definitely not going to be acquiring a geometric value of R from that horizon. We've debunked it as a physical thing like an Earth curve edge that you assumed until we debunked it. So now you can't measure R. It only exists in the maths. I'll give you a little quote from one of your compadres called Rumpus the Liar, who says the geometric horizon only exists in the maths. End quote. And it's true. You can't acquire it in reality. It's not in reality. Your radius, that is. Because you haven't got a geometric horizon. And a sphere would have one. It would be obvious. You'd have a tangent point in the distance. And the one that your sphere Earth would have would be 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's where it would be if you had a physical sphere beneath your feet, and we don't. The horizon's beyond the limitations of a sphere radius 3959, debunking the assumption that only exists in maths. Hope that's clear.
Okay, two little things. First one, I'm not talking over you because I mean, there's a little delay between.
Meanwhile, we only have one horizon, and the horizon in your globe maths is geometric. Not refracted, you'd need a straight line to it. I suggest you babble about how you interrupted me at the beginning of that explanation rather than addressing it. I'll interrupt you with the rendition of your demolishment of your globe faith. You can't measure R, you haven't got a geometric horizon. Want to talk about the mic?
No, it was just pointing out the delay. And the second...
Yeah, and the delay that we haven't got two horizons, a geometric and a refracted. You can only have one horizon, and your globe horizon's geometric to get R from it. Until it was refracted with the black swan argument rebuttal. Now you don't have a geometric horizon to get R, so it only exists in the maths. Maybe address this non-real mathematical value that we've been discussing until now, and now it seems that the whys and wherefores of the show are more important than responding to your R that you don't have.
The second thing was about the R value that I was going to say. And the thing that I was going to say, I explained it. I think you have 2 entire shows of me talking about how to get R, so I'm not going to repeat it. And yeah, that's it.
All right, well, I'll repeat it. We only have one horizon. And the horizon in your geometric globe Earth model is a tangent point that you no longer have because it's refracted according to the globe believers. So the geometry dies. Your model dies. It needs R and it needs a tangent point to get it, and you haven't got one based on your horizon. That's the summary of the demolition of any globe faith based on geometry. You haven't got that anymore. Your model's dead.
And I'm once again saying that you don't need a straight line to the horizon in order to take the R value. Have you watched the video that I sent you like 3 months ago?
No.
No?
Did you argue about it 3 months ago here and come and describe it? Maybe it was about standing up and down at the horizon, watching the sun go behind it. Was that your argument?
Yeah, I mean, you have...
Oh, so we heard it then and took it to pieces then, and I can summarise it now because you detailed to it verbally and we ripped it to shreds? Oh, I remember ripping it to shreds.
And that was the reason that I said...
Because the sun's going behind a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon when you measure it disappearing and standing up, based on where it disappears behind the physical geometric sphere edge horizon that you're saying you don't need. Yeah, you do. You need it for this example. We ripped it apart before. Did you want to circle jerk us and repeat it, even though I've demolished it again in very quick summary?
I'm just going to say that watch the video is 7 minutes.
What the video is about, something you've discussed here verbally and we've ripped to pieces, and now you need to suggest people go and watch the video that you've detailed to us verbally without listening to the rebuttal that's been summarised concisely now. You'd rather just recommend people go to your video and ignore the response that we have already given you when you gave it us the first time verbally. Yeah, we know. I've just ripped it to pieces based on your requirement for a physical geometric sphere at horizon to block the sun, so when you stand up and look at the sun again, it's come from behind the physical geometric sphere at horizon. That's my response. It's come twice now. We ripped it apart last time you put it to us. Maybe suggest that people go and watch your video again and ignore me.
I mean, I think that you didn't watch it because...
Oh, it's going to be about the video rather than about the rebuttal? Of course it is. Why would it possibly be any response to my rebuttal, ripping apart your argument that you claim doesn't need a physical geometric sphere at horizon to derive R from? Yeah, it does. I've just ripped it apart 3 times, and you've ignored me and continually suggested people go and watch a bloody video, rather than actually addressing the rebuttal that you've had from me, based on the claim that I could even remember, based on your verbal rendition of it here last time, several months ago. So we've heard your argument. I've pulled it apart 4 times, just now. But what, you're just going to continually recommend the video or suggest that I haven't watched it like it matters? I've heard your argument. I don't care about your video. I'm not going to go and watch it. I'll ask you to put your argument to us so we can demolish it verbally, rather than leaving a little comment that you could potentially delete on your video that I have no interest whatsoever in watching when I run a live show and invite people to verbally put their arguments to us so we can rip them apart for a live audience. That's what I do, not watch your stupid video. Shout out to Unitox Femu. That R3959 is your dodo from the book. Yeah. Can't account for that anymore. Go on.
Speaking of dodos, he said non-reality can reach a point of reality. Can you describe what
I heard that.
Describe how something it doesn't exist could exist.
Can you repeat the question, please?
You said non-reality can reach a point of reality. So basically, what I understood you saying was that something that doesn't exist can exist. Can you describe what you meant by that?
Okay, so I'm going to explain it as an example. For example, the pencils again. Well, no, just numbers. If you, we only can perceive things physically that are represented by positive numbers. So some value can be in the positive spectrum of numbers, then go to the negative spectrum of numbers, and then go back to the positive. So that way it comes to reality. It's not, I mean, it's not that things disappear and then reappear magically, but yeah, I don't know if I explain myself well enough.
Yes, you did. I didn't understand anything. How we measure radius? How we have straight line to the horizon? That I need to know.
I mean,
Yeah,
I wasn't talking about the horizon. I was talking about, for example, 2 minus 7 plus 10.
I see. You wanted to babble about anything other than the debate about the nature of the Earth, and you've got a radius value 3959 debunked by the fact that it's beyond the limitations of a sphere radius 3959 when you look at it, and it should be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and isn't. It's beyond that, so you can't get a tangent to it. But you wanted to talk about basic maths. I see. That's fascinating. Yeah, we want to talk about the nature of reality, and how the majority of the Western world think they're on a sphere with a radius 3959, and yet that only exists in maths. Doesn't exist in reality. You don't want to talk about it. You want to talk about anything else but that. I know. It's always point number 2. We'll come back to your point about the debunking of Earth as a sphere after I talk about some other thing that's not relevant. We know. You never want to talk about the actual point. Where'd you get your radius?
It seems that...
Where'd you get it?
It seems...
I understood. Listen, you said minus 2 plus 2 minus 7 plus 10. That is minus 7. It's 5.
Yeah. But
And
first of all...
And what that has with the shape of the Earth?
Yeah, meanwhile, radius.
Yeah, I was talking about that. I was talking about that because they asked me.
This is math channel. This is Nathan. Are you doing math this week?
Can we relate it to what Ten's question was, which was in terms of reality. Can he do it? So he tried to, and he came up with the sum 2 minus 5 plus 10. Well, no, that is not doable in reality. The only way in reality you could do that is 2 plus your 10, then minus your 5. So no, your maths isn't representative of actual reality there in the example you gave.
But in any,
which has been
I mean, in
his
any
point
kind
the
of
whole-
operation that the result is positive, you can skip, making each step and going right away to the result. For example, the 2 minus 7 plus 10, you don't need 2 pencils, then subtract 7, and then add 10. You can do that, in your head, and then you get the results, and you can express that.
Yeah,
So it
but
has
you
to be
can't
done in
do
your
it in
head.
reality.
You can't do it in reality. That's the whole point. Just like you said, you
But
have
if
to
you-
do it in your head.
Chocolate, if
Why
you
do you have to
skip,
do it in
if
your
you
head?
skip, then-
Because you can't do it in reality, right?
But in reality, if you skip that level, it's straight, you can do it then.
Okay, so we've got Al-Biruni's derivation of R by way of a physical measurement to a tangent point horizon, marked on screen as C, right angle to it because he's got a straight line to it. Now we're told when we point out that this would be the geometric limitation of a sphere radius 3959, and that point, C, can't be beyond that limitation if you can take a measurement of it. Now, when it is beyond that, they say that the line to it is curved, meaning that you can no longer do this measurement and get R anymore. That's the point of the argument. This measurement on screen cannot be done anymore. Why? Because they say the horizon's refracted. Well, then you can't take a geometric measurement of it. Bye-bye, globe Earth. Your assumption of R has no justification because you can't measure it. So your maths is irrelevant. You don't have an R value. You don't have a sphere beneath your feet. There's no drop. There's just a horizon that had been formerly used to derive a claim to be physical location to measure a radius. The horizon's not a physical location. We only have one horizon, and the horizon in the globe model, as per the one on screen, is a physical geometric tangent point horizon, so you can measure R from it. Not anymore. Globe's dead.
But I wasn't talking about that measurement.
Oh, but you weren't talking about that. I see. You were talking about something else, maybe bookkeeping. Fuck off to a maths forum, Spaniard.
I was talking about...
Yeah, I know you were
We're
talking about something that's
always
not the geometric horizon that can't be used to derive an R to claim you're on a sphere anymore. You were talking about bookkeeping. So I've told you, get lost, go to a maths forum. We're talking about the nature of reality. The Western world thinks you can measure R by way of a physical horizon. And we haven't got one. So your globe belief's dead. You don't want to talk about that, sod off.
The picture that you are showing on screen, that measurement, is not the thing that I was talking about.
So you weren't talking about Al-Biruni's measurement that derives R, that goes into the model so you can assume the horizon is blocking things into the distance and claim feet and inches values are blocked by a physical geometric sphere edge horizon in your begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. You weren't talking about that. I see. Then get lost. If you don't want to talk about the fact we've debunked the globe, then get lost.
That measurement is not the thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah, you told me that 3 times. We're talking about it because we're debunking Earth as a sphere. You keep telling me how you're not talking about it. We are talking about it. If you don't want to, get lost. That's the 4th time. If you don't talk about this, I will remove you. This isn't a maths forum. I'm not going to forever debate bookkeeping with you. Now it comes down to the brass tacks. You say this mathematical measurement exists in reality. It does not. It requires a geometric horizon. That's the point of the conversation. Not because you don't want to talk about it, or you're talking about something that's going to steer us away from the fact we've debunked Earth as a sphere. That is the topic of conversation here. If you don't want to talk about it, you are going to be getting lost if it's not the next thing off your lips.
I mean, we're talking about getting the radius of the Earth. But I'm talking about getting the radius of the Earth, but not that way. I'm talking about other way to measure it.
What, like standing up at the horizon and watching the sun and measuring it that way?
What? Can you repeat, please?
Like watching the sun at the horizon and standing up and taking a different measurement after you stand up?
Yeah, that...
Like the video that you took apart that you did not in any way acknowledge or address the fact that I took it apart 4 times 15 minutes ago. You just kept recommending the video and ignoring me. Rather than talking about the geometric derivation by Al-Biruni, which gives you your R value, you're going to use a different method I've taken apart now 5 times by pointing out that it's still requires a physical geometric horizon for the sun to go behind, you're just going to ignore that for a fifth time. I guarantee he'll now tell me he's not talking about the fact that he's claiming a sun's going behind a physical geometric spheroid horizon that I've mentioned now 6 times. Maybe he'll recommend the video or say he's not talking about this.
You didn't take it apart because if you listen to me, you would understand that I don't need a line to the physical horizon. Because
Oh, so you don't need a line to the physical horizon. So it is going to be a physical horizon. You're just not drawing a line to it in this instance, but you are going to assume it's a physical horizon.
I mean, I don't need a physical horizon.
You just said I'm not going to draw a line to the physical horizon. So it seems we've got a physical horizon that you're now going to lie about and say you don't need when the sun goes behind it.
You don't need, but globe needs.
Shut up, Sasha.
No, I mean, in order to measure the radius, you don't need to draw a straight line to the horizon. You don't need it.
All right.
And that's
How
why
are you
we
gonna
can measure
the
R.
radius then? How are you going to measure the radius?
How I measure the radius? Can you repeat the question, please? I didn't listen.
What, the one that you've just repeated back to us and then left a massive pause, given that I've pointed out on about 8 separate occasions that it's very much the topic of conversation? You've just asked, with an upward inflection, how I measure the radius? 10-second pause. Can you repeat that question I've just clarified? No. Because you'll be using a physical horizon. You don't need to draw a line to the physical horizon that the sun's going to be going behind, right? You've already taken this apart. Maybe if I say, does it matter that we've already taken this apart with a really high inflection? Does it mean that you'll ask us when we ask you to give us the R value measurement that you'll need clarity after clarifying that that's precisely what we're asking? Maybe this little obfuscation technique will take you away from the fact that we only have one horizon. And the horizon in your begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is physical. Geometric. Claimed that it blocks things. And in your example, it's going to be blocking the sun now, isn't it?
I didn't understand the question.
Oh, you didn't understand, did you stuttering little bitch? Yeah, you did. Maybe claim me no comprehend English.
No, I didn't.
No, me no comprehend English?
I
You
mean,
don't understand how you're.
You do understand. You repeated the question back to us in perfect English. Now you're lying if you say you don't understand because you repeated the question back immediately after it was posed to you, liar.
Nathan, let's
Come on,
ask
Nathan.
him, how are you going to measure the radius? Tell me that.
yeah, thank you. So, in order to measure this, you are, I mean, you go to a beach, well, to a sea level. You go to sea level. Then you stand down, okay? You lay. And then you see the sun going down. And then when it's covered entirely by the non-physical horizon, I mean, or the refractive horizon or whatever.
Sorry, going down? Sorry, going down. So you're assuming that the sun is moving in a downward position below the horizon, which is physically blocking it. And then you've peppered it with refracted or whatever. But the sun is going to be going down below the horizon. So it's an assumption that the horizon's physically blocking it then, precisely as I've already objected to. Let me get it correct. 7 times so far on this live show. 7 times. You've ignored it 7 times.
It doesn't matter if it's.
Oh, it doesn't matter that it's going down behind this physical horizon I've objected to now 8 times. But you haven't got a physical geometric horizon. You haven't got a sphere edge for it to go behind. In order to assert that it's a sphere edge, you'd need it to have physical geometry. That would be physicality. You've also peppered it by saying it's refracted. So what are you going to be measuring when the not actual sun goes behind a not actual location? How are you going to derive an R value from a not actual position of a sun going behind a not actual position of a horizon? You're not going to be deriving anything from that, you stupid clown.
I mean, yeah, because I don't need straight lines from me to the sun or from me to the.
Yeah, sorry, you're going to be deriving mathematics from a not actual position of the sun moving behind a not actual assumed to be physical location of the horizon. That's what you're doing. That's the second time I've repeated what you're doing. And you're going to tell me you don't need straight lines? I didn't mention straight lines. I mentioned that your sun's going down behind a physical, now refracted, because it doesn't matter if it's refracted in your explanation. So a not actual position of a not actual sun going behind a refracted horizon to what? Derive some maths from it? Right, I don't think so.
I mean, I'm not going to be another 2 hours with this
What, you're not going to
could-
give me a decent explanation for how you derive R after you've got a not actual horizon blocking a not actual sun? No, you're not going to, because you can't. It's not that you need 2 hours and I'm not going to give it you. It's just that you can't do it and I've taken it apart 9 times. You just ignore me every time. And then in this instance, tell me what you're not going to be doing, which is not spending 2 hours rather than not responding to my rebuttal, which is that you've got a not actual horizon, refracted horizon being a non-physical location to block a sun. So when you stand up and see its not actual location in a different not actual location, somehow you can derive R from that. That's 10 times I've told you that.
In total, I've wasted 5 hours of my
Oh, so it's now moved up to 5 hours rather than a response to my rebuttal that you've got a not actual horizon blocking a not actual position of a sun to derive an R from it. Total nonsense. Just going to move, maybe escalate it to 10 hours. You're not going to spend 10 hours arguing with me about this nonsense that you haven't proven and I've taken apart 11 times.
If you have a mosquito-sized brain, it's not my fault.
Oh, so it's down to the ad homs now? Mosquito brain? Don't respond to the 11 renditions of my rebuttal. Tell me that I've got a mosquito brain. That's a really good rebuttal. Also a logical fallacy. You're employing logical fallacy now. It's an ad
In my-
hominem
This is
attack.
sad, bro.
I explained.
You're a stuttering bitch. How dare you ad hom me and tell me I've got a gnat brain after you cannot and fail to respond to any rebuttal I put to you. How you completely ignored the ripping apart of this argument last time you came here in favour of recommending the video, so people don't get to hear the rebuttal that you haven't responded to or acknowledged in any way. Even when it's repeated to you 11 times, you tell me that I've got a small brain. You are a total wanker. Everyone who comes here knows how this goes down with 11 renditions of the same response that he hasn't responded to, only to tell me that I'm stupid. Yeah, how dare you?
If you don't want to understand,
If I don't want to respond to the 11 renditions of the rebuttal that you haven't responded to, that's what's happening. Don't tell me what I'm not doing when you're not responding to 11 renditions of something that was ripped apart last time you came here. Not actual sun moving behind, not actual horizon, not going to derive you an R value. Comprende?
nice
Can I
Spanish,
ask
bro.
him, is this part of your tactic now? Like, do you think that now, after blatantly demonstrating that you have no idea what you're saying, now you're going to result in insulting Nathan and just saying that you're wasting your time? Do you think that that's an actual tactic that's going to help you look good here? Like, what is the point of you being here? Because you don't know what you're saying. You have no idea what you're talking about.
I mean, I explained this lots of times, but Nathan doesn't want to listen to me nor understand the argument
Well,
entirely.
we've listened.
Sorry, I've repeated a rebuttal 11 times and you've not responded to one of those 11 renditions of my rebuttal. Not actual position of the sun moving behind a not actual position of a horizon cannot give you a cast iron R value because you've got not actual positions being derived from not actual locations. Now that's my response. It's been 12 times. And all you can tell me is that if Nathan doesn't want to listen, I have listened. I listened to it last time. But you're telling my audience I'm not listening to you. No, you're projecting the fact that you're ignoring my rebuttal 12 times. That's what you're doing. You're not listening to me.
I'll respond. Come on. You don't need the sun to be in its. Well, it doesn't matter if the horizon is refracted or something, because the photons. I mean, there will be a point in which the photons emitted by the sun will collide into the Earth. And that is the thing that we are measuring. Since the refraction doesn't vary from 1 second to another, it doesn't matter because the photons will be. I mean, you can perceive the sun moving at the same rate. And if it was not refracted or with more refraction or with less refraction, we're measuring time between two events, not the event itself. Thank you.
I see. And the refraction that you will be applying is based on an R value to begin with. The refraction applied in this instance is called terrestrial refraction and is based on a derived R value. So standard refraction, if you're applying it, which you are, is 7/6 of a radius value. So you're already invoking something that you're trying to measure. So saying it doesn't matter about the refraction, there is refraction, but how much refraction? Well, you're talking about something that's already got an R value in it, invalidating this entire claim, because you haven't got the R to invoke the refraction yet. You're supposed to be measuring R, and you're talking about a refraction that includes R, terrestrial refraction. So,
But I'm
your
not measuring
whole argument,
refraction.
oh my bad, the conclusion needs to be talked through, of course. Your entire argument's dead on arrival. You're already begging the question and assuming an R value by saying refraction.
I'm not measuring refraction, and
No, you're not, but you're invoking it and it's already got R in it. So 7/6 of a radius value, terrestrial refraction, otherwise known as standard refraction, or any variant thereof, is what you will be invoking because you're claiming that you're deriving an R. So you're already on a sphere, therefore you're already using the R in your refraction that you're claiming. So it's dead on arrival because you haven't got the R to invoke refraction. It's merely you begging the question another logical fallacy, already employing the thing that you're trying to prove, that would be the R value, by invoking a refraction value that's already got it in it.
but I don't. Refraction will do its thing.
Oh, will it? Terrestrial refraction with an R value is definitely going to be doing its thing. So you are definitely going to be assuming your outcome with the R value. Yes, that's a logical fallacy that I've just pointed out and you've ignored.
I don't need to measure to calculate the
You don't need to measure the R value, but that's what you're supposed to be doing. But yet when I point out that it's a not actual location that's refracted and that your refraction's already got R in it, you say you don't need to measure, you don't need to employ. Yet you are doing those things though. You've said refracted. Your refraction's already got R in it, so this argument's dead on arrival.
I don't need to measure refraction in order for
You've already done that. You've already stated it and employed it. So now telling me that you don't need to do something that you've done is nonsensical and just you hand-waving the objection to something you've already done. You've already said, yeah, refracted. Yeah. But that doesn't matter. Oh, right. But it does matter because your refraction's got R in it, so you're just begging the question. Maybe ignore this 17 times. Tell me that it doesn't
I don't
matter.
need to measure the refraction that I'm saying it is.
The initial claim was that he was going to show us an alternative method to measure R. As he just gone through that very long-winded description, he made the statement of what he was going to measure, and that was time. So his measurement is time.
and then two things. First, before explaining how to get the radius value, I'm going to address the refraction thing with an example. Can I?
No, because it uses R. Your refraction uses R and you're claiming to measure R. You've mentioned refraction, then said it doesn't matter. So you're a bit of a circle-jerking wanker. You say refraction when I point out that you've got a not-actual location, but then we're going to say it doesn't matter? What? Because it's my objection that you're measuring not-actual locations to get not-actual positions with time that Adam's pointing out, and hopefully will also point out is derived from the celestial movements in the first instance. So all of these things are big problems.
He's using,
If you
instead of using the ruler, he's using a stopwatch to measure R, from what I can see.
You realize you're only saying refraction because your horizon is not geometric, right? That's why you keep repeating refraction, because it's not geometric.
I'm going to address each of these points. First of all, if you have a bottle, it will have mass regardless of not if you measure that mass. The same thing happens with refraction. Refraction will happen regardless if you measure it or not. Then,
No, refraction happens in reality, but the refraction that you need to apply on a globe Earth needs R. So while you're trying to say that your refraction, which is R-based, happens in reality always, no, it doesn't. R-based refraction never happens in reality. It's an R-based refraction, and you're yet to even acquire R, and you're invoking this R-based refraction. No, this doesn't happen in reality. You're wrong. R-based refraction only happens in the maths also. You're wrong. Your refraction doesn't happen always, as you've just stated. You are incorrect.
So refraction doesn't.
Terrestrial refraction based on an R value doesn't, and that's what you're employing when you're deriving R values. Your refraction needs R. That's the 7th time I've said it. Shout out to MultiTomTom, who says 1440 episodes and still no ball Earth proofsies. Very telling.
Okay, so you have said that refraction doesn't exist because you didn't.
No, I said terrestrial
said
refraction based on an R value only exists in the maths. So you've misrepresented my argument. What a scumbag. I say terrestrial refraction specifically based on an R value doesn't exist in reality. It only exists in the maths. He comes back with, you've said refraction doesn't exist. No, refraction in reality exists. It's just not based on an R value. And when you're deriving R values, i.e. measuring spheres that you assume, then your terrestrial refraction applies. But you need R before you use it. And you haven't got it yet. You're just making a concession for the fact that you can't get geometry because you're measuring not actual positions of horizons, blocking not actual positions of suns, to then time them to derive R values. No, mate, it's a complete dead-on-arrival arse mess when you've got an R value in your refraction that you simultaneously say, oh yeah, it's refracted, but oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. That doesn't mean to say that I say refraction doesn't exist. Light deviates from straight in reality. That's just not R-based refraction. That's what I made clear. And then you strawman me and misrepresented me on. What scumbag. Can't you listen? You have to misrepresent what I actually say. Your globe refraction that you're invoking when you say refraction and you're deriving R from sunsets, not actual locations, at not actual horizons, that doesn't apply. It's not in reality. Is that clear?
So if you said that terrestrial
Nice try,
refraction
though.
doesn't happen,
Go on, chocolate.
Yeah, nice try in the misrepresenting, because he literally just said refraction does exist. But you want to turn around and say, oh, now you're saying it doesn't? Are you serious?
He needs to misrepresent me to win. Can't actually fight my arguments, needs to repackage them in a way that he can win against them. Oh, you're saying refraction doesn't exist. All I need to do is prove that there's refraction then. And then we can move back on to assuming that it's based on an R value, because I'm going to be doing things on a sphere, claiming I'm measuring R. So therefore terrestrial refraction's already going to be invoked, and all I had to do was show you that light refracts. And then we're back to assuming R value refraction in globe maths. No, I make it clear that your R-based refraction that you were invoking when you were claiming you were measuring R, with refracted horizons and sun, to time them, well, that R wasn't acquired to invoke it. You ignored that 12 times.
sorry, I didn't listen to that. I was having some bad connection issues. You know, something muted. That's
is it going still?
for a little bit.
This is waffling
And,
time for him.
It's time for him to back off the mic about 3 or 4 foot and claim he had technical issues. So he's literally gone, I've got a few technical issues. I don't know what was happening. I couldn't quite figure out how to get my mic to work, so I'll now babble indefinitely. That's what he's actually doing.
Okay.
Oh, go
so
ahead.
This is akin, isn't it, to saying, right, I'm going to go and measure the curvature of that hill over there, and I'm not going to take a ruler. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bus. I'm going to drive the bus over the hill. Get someone to drive the bus over the hill. I'm going to lay down on the floor, and the second I see the bus disappear, I'm going to jump up and then time how long it takes for the bus to disappear again, and that way I'll be able to determine the curvature of the hill. It's beyond.
Sorry, and when it disappears again, it's disappearing over the crest of a hill, right?
Yeah.
A physical crest that it's...
Yeah.
My bad, me pointing out how your argument failed definitely is going to need interrupting, right? Yeah, it goes over the crest of a physical hill. Not a refracted hill. Who's talking?
No, physical.
Yeah, physical hill.
The bus is attached to the earth in this case. I'm measuring a thing moving that it's not attached.
A helicopter.
A helicopter is also it's moving with the earth. Therefore, I can't
with the
measure things with it.
Oh, so it's not going to drift away at 15 degrees an hour to show that we've got Coriolis deviation. Oh, right, you've just debunked Earth spin. I mean, people thank Bob because it's claimed Earth turned underneath a gyroscope, proving Earth turns underneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour. But you just said Earth and helicopter move together. Well, that's you begging the question that Earth spins. Now we moved on to a different subject. But if Earth was spinning, we'd expect to see the helicopter drift away as we turn beneath it. It's called Coriolis effect. It's claimed to prove we spin. But you're claiming we don't see that effect. Well, we don't have Earth turn. Meanwhile, we've only got one horizon, akin to a bus going over the crest of a hill. Well, your Earth has a crest of a hill in the form of a geometric horizon. It's marked on screen at sea. That's the crest of your hill. It's physical by nature and derived physical geometry with the picture on screen. Of course, when you claim that you can measure the sun in a non-actual location going beyond a non-actual, non-geometric horizon, you think you can also get around that by begging the question of R in the use of your terrestrial refraction, and then just claim I deny refraction exists because you begged the question of R when you haven't yet measured it. But maybe change the subject onto Coriolis effect and just assume that Earth and atmosphere move together in defiance of the 15 degrees an hour drift you're supposed to have. Yeah, nice try. You've only got one horizon. This whole argument isn't going to get segued away onto Coriolis effect. You haven't measured R. Your argument was bunk. We pulled it apart left, right and centre. You'll undoubtedly just circle jerk and reassert it.
I do appreciate
Eh,
that he took
they
the time to add a sentence to debunk an entire other argument while getting destroyed on the first argument. That's wonderful.
I think I've
Keep
missed a
going.
couple of super chats. Sorry to interrupt you guys. Godzilla says, maybe if I use £2 more or dollars to super chat. Have I missed something from you, Godzilla? I'm really sorry. Right in the thick of it. Let's see if I can scroll back up. Godzilla, but my super chats, not read, trigger me. Oh, my bad. Sorry for missing your super chats, but thank you very much indeed for them, Godzilla37.
It seems like he's still
Can I
in
say
the negative
something about the
numbers,
helicopter?
trying to find. Hang on. It seems like you're arguing for reality, but you're on your negative number side where there is no reality. That's the way your
Exactly.
whole talk is going.
Exactly.
Man, you are lying about helicopters. I was in military shooting against that stuff, and I was not accounting for the rotation of the Earth, only to teach you about something. And I was good shooter in that.
Yeah, it didn't move because it was
Did I
really close to
tell you
the Earth.
something? Did I tell you something? I was
Shut up. I'm
anti-air
tired of
in
hearing this
military.
guy.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. But
That's cool. That means that I had luck every time when I shoot.
the helicopter doesn't drift 15 degrees an hour because
55
Oh.
helicopters.
Did you
does it?
say? Sorry, did you say the helicopter doesn't drift at 15 degrees an hour? But yeah, it's claimed we have 15 degrees an hour drift to prove we spin. So the helicopter's not proving Earth spin. Then we can't observe drift. We can't observe Coriolis effect in the helicopter. You just debunked Earth spins again. There's claimed to be 15 degrees an hour drift, only capable of observation from a non-inertial spinning reference frame, claimed to be Earth turning beneath stuff to see the drift. And you've just said there isn't any drift. Well, then you've just debunked Coriolis claims that Earth spins. Well done.
I didn't say
Welcome to
that
Flat
there
Earth, Nathan.
wasn't any drift. The helicopter doesn't move because it's not really away from the Earth.
You're gonna,
Well, then
you're
there's
gonna
no
keep
drift. Moving away from Earth would be what you observed if you turned underneath the helicopter. So again, you've debunked the claim we have Coriolis effect. That's 15 degrees an hour drift. You're saying there isn't any. You've just debunked Earth spins again.
But at the altitude that the helicopter flies is not as strong, for example, as in a satellite. For
Well, you don't
example,
understand. It's nothing to do with what the flight of the helicopter or satellite does. It's only observable from the ground as you turn beneath stuff. So you don't understand what Coriolis effect is. It's got nothing to do with the projectile. It's a not actual deflection. But to see the not actual deflection, I've got to be turning underneath stuff. And according to you, we're not turning underneath helicopters. That's the only way you see this Coriolis effect, if you're turning underneath stuff. And you're saying we're not. So you keep debunking Earth turn and then trying to detail something that doesn't happen. Doesn't matter what the satellite, definitely not in space, by the way, a second law of thermodynamics violation. If satellites were in a sky vacuum, we'd all be dead. The gas we breathe would be filling that area. Nevertheless, you detailing what a satellite does or what a helicopter does is irrelevant to Coriolis because it's not actual deflection.
helicopter doesn't move,
Do you
well, doesn't
understand that?
drift apart because, I mean, the Coriolis effect exists. But when you
Yeah, it exists. I can see it if I'm on a roundabout and I throw a ball or look at something that isn't on the roundabout with me. It looks like it moves. If I look at a tree on a roundabout, it looks like it moves. It's not. It's a tree. It's in the ground. But it looks like it moves because I'm turning beneath it. That's Coriolis effect. Now, if we've got that on Earth, anything not on the roundabout or not on Earth is going to drift. Now, they say footballs drift because you turn beneath the football when it's kicked from the ground. They say snipers' bullets drift because when they leave the gun, Earth turns beneath them. That's what they say. So we're going to turn beneath helicopters and see them drift then. But you keep telling us how that doesn't happen. Well, it's claimed to happen with things in the air for a few seconds. But of course, helicopters are in the air for a substantial period of time. And you definitely expect to see them drift from the ground as you turn beneath them. So we don't. So there's no drift. There's no 15 degrees an hour to observe.
Nathan, before you, I know you're going to round out in a sec. So before these just 10's brought it back to negative numbers. You know, like a definition. I don't know whether this is just my mind, but I thought this very definition was very apt. Negative numbers are often used to represent the magnitude of a deficiency.
Ooh, I like that.
I thought it was very apt for the nature of.
I think that's a brilliant definition. We should use that more often, Nathan.
With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat. Really appreciate it. All of you liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Massive thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!